So first of all, yeah, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing something that is a kind of very special project for many reasons. And this egg became a sort of obsession for me, and we are going to keep that talk short because it's very hot, and we are also like, you know, in a very informal situation. But this is kind of a ritual because I've been kind of working on that piece for many years. It started when I was part of the Documenta team working with Carroll and Christoph Bakargiev. And I was kind of obsessed with the notion of finding a different way of defining our situation versus political art. And at the same time, already there, I was trying to get interested in new ways of understanding the media. So somehow, even if it seems completely nonsensical to you, I see that egg as the beginning of the post-digital era. So it took me some time, like Federico Manuel Peralta Ramos, what you have in your back is kind of the major retrospective that has ever been done of these works. 8 of them has never been exhibited. 2 of them were only exhibited once, which is the egg and the Mandarina Cosmica, which is the painting on the wall. And he did them for a national kind of show of the Ditela Institute of Experimental Art in Buenos Aires in '65. And the egg was destroyed. Some people say that it broke by itself. I believe that. Some people said that it was in his craziness he destroyed the egg producing a performance. I don't believe that because I just think that the egg cannot go through the door back anywhere. The case is that after that moment he stopped doing art as he was doing it, and he engaged in a sort of conversation with the citizenship of Buenos Aires that was based in stupidity and conviviality. Stupidity because he brought himself to the point of being the idiot or the kind of very naive figure that passed from gaining the National Prize of the Arts in '65 by being granted as the first Latin American artist the Guggenheim grant and getting lots of money at that time that he spent in a party in Hotel Alvear in the year '66, and then receiving a letter for asking him why is a party a piece of art, please give the money back. And then he sent a letter like, I make a decision which is to merge into life, and that's now my art. And then friends of him asked him to prove this kind of merging into life, and there is a manifesto or like some kind of a letter to all of us, which is at the corner of the room, that says, I wanted actually to see if others saw life as part of art, so I sent a letter to the National Salon of the Arts in '72 saying, hey, I'm gonna come by. So they sent a letter to him back saying rejected. So he's explaining things like that, and he did 2 things that I thought they were kind of fascinating me. One is to state that he wanted to be a piece of atmosphere, and in order to do so, he needed to sing. And in order to sing, so to be heard by others, he needed to go on television. So he started appearing on television, and Federico Manuel Peralta Ramos, the guy that was granted all these honors and was actually a good artist in the Ditela, a reference to all his peers like David Lamelas or Marta Minujín or Alberto Greco and so on and so forth. These artists disappear and appear on television for many, many years till he died in the 80s as a gordo, as a fat man that ate himself to death when his parents disappeared. The gordo on television became a super prominent person, and I still think that it's an internet piece of art and not television somehow. So, as I said, I just wanted to have Boris by my side for no other particular reason of some, you know, like sharing that moment of being with the egg with you, with a friend, back in New York. I've been working in Museo del Barrio, where I could actually not realize the project I wanted. And then this kind of show is, you know, it's a coming back. It's kind of reuniting all of us friends. So Boris wrote many times about the difference in between the cultural archive. He many times reminds us that you can archive almost everything or everything, and that there is a difference in between the material that you can archive that constitutes a memory and the secular space. And for some reason, that was an inspiration for me in thinking about that artist that has been moving at the moment that he kind of say bye to that position of an artist and moving to the secular space being the media space of the city and the television of the 70s. So perhaps, Boris, you can say something about all that.
Well, I am interested. I am interested, of course, in the title of the exhibition. Yeah, title of the exhibition is "We Are Outsiders." Yeah. And I think it has a kind of polemical edge, because we live in a time in which everybody wants to be an insider. Everyone is invited to be an insider. Contemporary art wants to present itself as participative art, as art that has actually nobody outside of it, that include everybody, that include audience, that make the audience to be immersed in a space of the exhibition. And so it seems to me that the title has a certain kind of polemical edge in relationship to this kind of the kind of desire to be an insider and desire that everybody else will be insider. Is it really true? Could one see that in this way?
Yeah, well, yes, it is really true. And everything that is really true is not true. But the egg is just Humpty Dumpty. So there is a whole theory of, Humpty Dumpty is just a riddle. And the riddle says a couple of sentences for you to know the answer. The answer is the egg. So in the text, there is no reference to the egg. The egg is just the answer of a riddle. And the egg is kind of a taking for the possibility of reinventing language and reverting it, starting from anew. And now we are in an era that everyone is talking about creativity and innovation when we know that those words belong to the industry and don't belong to the egg. So somehow the egg is a counterpart to creativity and innovation. Because the relationship that is established with the outside, it can be completely altered by broken it, colonizing it by force, or it could be altered by some sort of a strange osmosis that would tell us new clues of relating inside and outside. So if you invent a private language, then you are alone. If you are alone, you are an outsider. If you are in community, you are an insider. But the egg is kind of posing some questions towards this theory. So in talking to a very good friend, an artist, the other day, he was telling me that more and more we are moving away, or there is like a shift from the representational paradigm of images into something that he calls the operational paradigm. I'm probably quoting him badly, but for me it was completely in relationship with my thinking about that egg. So he was saying that more and more non-representational images are getting produced, and there are machines producing these images, and these machines are producing those images for other machines that are reading those images, making a decision based on data. So there is a whole load, millions and millions of images that, like the representational images, do function in the world. I think they function in a world that is read by machines, and this is kind of aside the human eye. So in a way, the egg is kind of addressing the possibility of an opacity. So as much as the media are racing, there is a more and more complex relationship in between transparency. And it's very difficult for us to think about models of constituting democracy if we are not thinking about transparency. Because transparency is what granted us the possibility of trust. If we don't trust, we cannot make a pact. We cannot make an agreement. So the contract is based on transparency. On the other hand, we completely know that there are a bunch of systems that are actually self-sufficient, they are operative, and we do have a relationship with them, and they are opaque to us, but we are in a conviviality with them too. I think it's not that these machines are against or in favor of us. These machines are kind of in a co-evolutionary system with us. So somehow, the title of the work or the intuition of this person was relating it to a new media future. But this new media future is not in critical terms towards the media, but in this kind of stupid post-ideological relationship to an object that is media. Because what is inside the egg is information. I think you don't need to be, if you think about an egg, you completely don't know what is inside because it's a black, it's a hole. But on the other side, you of course know what's inside the egg. Inside the egg, there's information. And you don't know how to read it, but you know that it's there.
Well, it's one way to see it. When I see an egg, I think there is a chicken in it. Because eggs are produced by chicken and chicken are produced by eggs. And if I see a very big egg, it could be a straws, or it could be a small dinosaur. Dinosaurs, they produce so big eggs, And I think that maybe was also initial response to this work, why this egg was also found be partially destroyed. Maybe it has destroyed itself, or maybe it was destroyed by other people just to show that there's no chicken inside it. So that the people would see what is in it and they say there is no chicken. Now, if there is no chicken inside the egg, you mean there's no chicken or no dinosaur, small dinosaur, means there is information. But information, what kind of information?
Oh, we don't know that. If there is a dinosaur, then it's a really interesting information.
But if there is no dinosaur, there is nothingness. Nothingness is a kind of highest form of Buddhist information, Is it not? I think in relationship to the egg, I see the opposition between chicken, non-chicken. And if it is a chicken, it's life. If it is a non-chicken, it is nothingness. If it is nothingness, it's a kind of attempt to construct a Buddhist situation of enlightenment, a Buddhist situation of nirvana. Is it not a sign of nirvana? If it's side of nirvana, so no chicken, If it's a side of nirvana or it's a side of chicken, that actually, because why should chicken not be able to reach nirvana? As Buddha has reached nirvana, he disappeared. Maybe this chicken reached nirvana and disappeared. So we don't see anybody inside the egg. We see the nirvana, and that's why we are outside. We are outside because we are still in samsara. We are not in nirvana.
No, but you're completely right. Because I think, of course, first of all, giving chicken and small dinosaurs to raise the level of nirvana is an historical moment. Plus, it makes complete sense because now the new theories of consciousness say that, of course, I think the humans are not the only ones that have consciousness, also the animals, but probably the way that the consciousness is expressed in an animal is much more closer to the nirvana. So the disappearance of the dinosaur or the chicken, it has directly to do with the proof of the new theories of philosophy of the mind, that they are trying to actually tell us that there is intelligence, but it expresses in a way that is for us almost impossible to verbalize. So,
well, or maybe it doesn't express itself at all, and that's the best way. In any case, I'm sure there is no human being inside the egg. No.
Well, why not?
No, maybe.
No, I believe like you. There is no human being there.
Yes, probably no human being.
No.
But the next question is the following one. We speak about the egg, we speak about an event. It was 60s, yeah?
It was 65.
It was 65. And so what was interesting for me was that you organized an exhibition of 4 artists. 2 of them are artists from the 60s, so older generation. This egg guy and also and also, yeah, German filmmaker collaborating with Joseph Boris. Also actually experimenting with throwing camera in the ear, in the air, and looking what comes out of it. So that was a radical time. And now you have 2 younger artists. And the question is, what do you believe? Do you believe there is a kind of, how to say, line of continuation, a certain tradition coming from the 60s, and then carried on by the artists from the younger generation? Also, is a kind of break, and you want to show this break. So why this 2 generations? Yeah, that was interesting.
That's a really, like, these kind of simple questions I never know how to answer. I'm a really bad art historian, so I cannot prove that there is a continuation or a break, because I am not thinking in art historical terms. But I think that is both. There is a continuation and a break. Let's say that there is a break because there is no direct relationship in between Peralta Ramos and Eduardo Navarro, which is the Argentinian artist present here with this volcanic poem. And there is absolutely no connection in between a Polish artist like Agnieszka, Eduardo, and the ex. So there is absolutely nothing that continues in a conscious way. Or that continues in knowing. So it is not knowledge of the previous, what carries the archive further away. So there is no genealogical thesis in this exhibition. I put 2 artists that I really, really like, close to an artist that I really, really like, in a kind of hope for osmosis of in between the works, because I do think that they share something in common, but it would take me days to prove it. But I think that there is, like, in Eduardo, there is like an incredible intuition that there is a big difference in between land art as it was in historical times, in an exploration of space or nature, and this going to a volcano to kind of touch it, knowing that if you touch the mountain, perhaps it would change everything, and it would be some kind of a strange cognoscitive moment of exchange in between the mountain and the artist. And then you can say, well, this is super mystical, or this woman is completely, into some sort of hormonal change of the mind. But since I am not mystical at all, I do think that there is a conversation going on in between this big sculpture object being called the mountain and the artist that is interesting in relationship with some of these kind of intuitions that happened before in the 60s. And the work of Agnieszka, which is a painter, has been completely motivated by trying to find the Pantone of the universe. So it's difficult for me to verbalize the real connection, but there is an intelligence in trying to have a conversation with the impossible elements that is shared in the whole exhibition.
So it's also kind of a relation of non-relation. I speak not about art historical terms. I speak about a certain kind of attitude, maybe attitude towards nirvana, maybe attitude towards silence, maybe attitude toward outsiderness. Yeah, this kind of attitude. Not an art historical play of similar or dissimilar forms, but a certain kind of inner positioning here in the world. So would you say there are some kind of common inner positioning, so certain kind of commonality in the attitude behind the work, so on the surface of the work behind it.
When I was working, I think when I was working at El Museo, I met Rafael Montañez Ortiz, which is the founder of Museo del Barrio. And then he was explaining to me that when he found the Museo, he wanted to position a rainforest in the first gallery. And then he said to me, unless you do something like that, you are going to be unable to transform the place, because the transformation of the place is depending on, it's an artwork, first of all. It's an institution which is an artwork, and the transformation of the place is depending of the transformation, a reversal of the relationship that we have with economy and social class. So in order to make a museum which is able to talk in non-modernistic terms, but perhaps even using modernistic language, avant-garde language, terms like experimentalism, and even formalizing it in its display, in the ways that we inherit from the traditional museum, we need to reverse it so completely that those that are not part of the modern movement, of the avant-garde, of the experiment, they need to feel that they are close to that. And this is an impossibility. So this impossibility could be gapped by going through a rainforest, a real rainforest. So I thought that he was completely crazy when he was saying that, but he was presenting the possibility of a space of transformation. Or going through a substance. So I think that this is what all these works share. The idea of getting transformed by something that you don't know exactly what it is, and getting abandoned in it.
Well, actually, I agree with your general attitude, because I also think that if we speak about the avant-garde, you speak about the avant-garde, you speak about the avant-garde not in historical terms, not in terms of forms, but this basic attitude. I think that is a basic attitude of avant-garde was self-exclusion. It was not inclusion, it was self-exclusion. It was an attempt to create something outside of the commonality, outside of the common sense, outside of being liked or expressing some kind of already existing taste. It was an attempt to go outside of all that, yeah? And maybe this impulse, maybe it's a good thing to be reminded of this impulse, because it was very strong at the beginning of the 20th century, in the middle of the 20th century, even in the 60s, yeah. But somehow my feeling is, maybe I'm wrong, that people in general want to be liked nowadays. I don't know why, but this avant-garde desire not to be liked, yeah, and also not to be sincere, you know. Malevich always said the real enemy of an artist is a desire to be sincere. Because if you are sincere, you are always trivial. Yeah? You have to really work against yourself, against your own triviality. So not only to exclude yourself from the commonality of taste and sense, but also of your inner triviality, or inner banality. So this kind of radicalism is almost forgotten, I believe. So if this egg tries to remind us of this lost radicality, then it's nice attempt of the dinosaur inside it. Yeah,
that's great. Any question? Because you are probably cooking the
text of the octopus. I haven't read it yet. I just saw it. Is that related, or is that?
Yes, I wrote it like before I put the exhibition together, and then I explain like somehow I think, you know, it's a long story and the text is there, but it talks about the decentralization of the senses, and it uses the octopus because it's an animal that has the brain scattered around, and there is like 3/5 of the brain is in the arms, and I was fascinated by that idea of a decentralized sensorium that is not centralized in the brain, and it helped me to understand some of these radical pieces of being dishonest, even with your own mind and with the rational project and the critical project, like Peralta Ramos or Rafael Montañez Ortiz, but I think also like finding ways of getting to an outside that is, you know, the avant-garde is an urban project, and there is no time here to evolve on that, but all these artists in the exhibition are working from a non-urban environment somehow. And also that egg is a radical non-artist community project. So all these things are related in my mind, and it has to do with the show, so it probably helps a lot if you read it.
So Boris, I'm not sure if you were conscious about this, but you brought up the chicken and dinosaur complex, and within evolutionary biology, they are connected, right? Like the chicken is the derivative of the dinosaur. But what's at stake for transparency with this kind of egg structure that we're talking about?
Well, it's interesting that there is a saying, chicken and egg, egg and chicken, So there is a way to think about egg as beginning of something, as a mediating point in a chain of life, from dinosaur to something else, to straws, to chicken, and to omelette, in a certain way. So egg is included in a chain of life. So what, and it's not urban indeed, in a certain way, no. But it's also not agricultural. What, in a sense, I mean this egg, because this egg is taken out of this chain of life. Suddenly, we are confronted with the enigma of the egg that has nothingness inside it. It is a sign of death. It is a sign of death not because something ended and died inside it, but because it is a point where certain change of life, certain change of tradition, certain development, certain line of development was interrupted. And it is a symbol of this interruption. And it is, of course, has this avant-garde potential because, all the avant-garde images with black square and so on, they are all images of interruption, of the end, of the point where you can't go further. So in this sense, I really believe that I do not believe, of course, and I have also my problems with that, but I can agree that it is a symbol of outsiderness. It is a symbol of outsiderness as far as it is not because of its form, but precisely because it's taken out of this chain of life, because it's suddenly exterritorialized, put in the outside of life, if you want.
If there is no more questions, I would close the session. I would like to thank Rafael Bueno, who is the person that was a friend of Federico Manuel Peralta Ramos and helped us to build the egg. And I would like to thank the family for lending the works that you have seen in the gallery, and the Cisneros Foundation for lending us the piece by Eduardo. And most of all, the team of e-flux, because this is a research project that I hope I can continue. And you will hear about it, and please come back, and thank you very much.